Yeah, I was always chasing who's going to accept me for me because I'm broken. I've got these ugly scars. I don't have a mom who's going to, you know. So I think I just felt alone for a really long time. In some ways still do.
Yeah.
Because you can't replace mom.
Yeah.
You know.
Welcome to our podcast, Hearing the Unheard, Stories of Transformation. I'm your host, Eric Stauffer, and I am pleased to welcome our guest today, Melanie Dalton. Melanie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Why don't we start as early as you want to start in telling us a little bit about your upbringing and your early life?
I grew up in North Idaho. My parents met at BYU, and we ended up in Coeur d'Alene when I was 5. And we lived up there until I was a senior in high school. I'm the oldest of 3. I have 2 younger brothers, quite a bit younger, about 8 and 10 years apart. So it was just me for a long time. And we were just normal family, you know, did the family things and went to church every Sunday. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, taught piano lessons. And my dad was a salesman. He sold cars for a long time. And we just lived the, you know, gardening, simple life. And then when in my senior year, we moved to Blackfoot, Idaho, middle of nowhere for a while.
Was it hard moving your senior year?
Yes and no. Yes and no. There were disadvantages and advantages to start new. And then I went to BYU, served a mission in South Africa, and then came back to BYU, met my husband, and lived here in Utah ever since.
Oh, wow. What parts of Utah have you and your husband lived in?
We've lived, Provo, obviously, at BYU. Then we moved to Pleasant Grove, to Casharam, which is a blip of nothing. And then up to Providence, here in Cache Valley.
How long have you been in Providence?
21 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So would you say that from a distance, it's a typical Latter-day Saint upbringing?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, family name, family prayers. We didn't have a temple close. My parents never, you know, once and done.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
Did temple trips to Seattle when I was in high school, because that's where we would have to drive, so it was like a big...
From Coeur d'Alene over. Yeah.
It was a big to-do.
Yeah.
Girls camp, yeah, the old young women.
Yeah.
I was all in, or I am all in.
Yeah. And then Blackfoot, would you go to Logan? Was that the temple district?
Idaho Falls.
Oh, Idaho Falls, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But I never did that, actually.
Really?
No.
Okay.
No.
And then at BYU, what did you study at BYU?
Oh, I did a few things. I did computer science for a semester. Hated it.
Did you?
Yes, wasn't my idea.
Yeah.
Then I jumped to nursing, which I should have stayed in. And then I ended in speech pathology for that degree.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
What are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, be with my family. You know, get outside, kayak. I like to ride my bike. Be creative, sewing, crafts, play the piano.
And you teach piano, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then how many children do you and your husband have?
We have 4 daughters that range from 18 to 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are kind of starting a new stage of life.
Yep. No grandkids yet, so we're still just the mom and dad.
Yeah.
4 girls. That's good. And 1 husband. One's married and one's with a partner. So
Yeah.
I guess you could say 2 are together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So tell us a little bit about some of the early experiences that you've had that you feel have been formative in your life.
Big question.
Yeah, it is. You can go any direction you want.
Okay. I was just the typical little kid. I was obsessed with roller skating and living in John. That's what I wanted to be. Just happy, you know. And then one summer we were involved in a drunk driving car accident. My mother was killed. It was a head-on collision up in the mountains between Idaho and Washington on a 2-lane road on a Sunday afternoon after church. My dad was asked to go check out a hiking trail for young women for girls camp because he would take the young women on hikes. He was a big backpacker, and I had done some of that with him. So we had gone up to check on that, see how the trail was, and on the way home, we didn't make it. And the drunk driver had crossed our lane and just hit his head on. We were in a Volkswagen camper bus, so the front end, there's nothing. So my mom was just crushed. My dad was injured, I was injured, and my 2 brothers had bumps and bruises. But a life flight came in, helicopter, is that a word? My dad and I self out, and we went to Spokane. And my brothers ended up going in an ambulance to Coeur d'Alene. And I ended up staying in the hospital for almost a month. And I had broke both my legs and had a lot of facial and neck injuries. And they weren't sure if I would survive. When they called my grandparents, they couldn't confirm if I was alive or dead. And so that was a huge impact in my life. Losing my mom and being told the outcome of my limitations to come. You know, I loved running and doing all those track and field events in elementary, and they're like, you might not get to do that ever again, you know. And I lost a big chunk of bone in my leg they found in the car. And so they weren't sure how they were going to put the leg back together because they were missing a big piece. So I sat in traction for a long time, and they finally were able to put it together with some plates and screws. So I've got a bunch of hardware in that right thigh, femur. And so life changed.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
12, almost 13. I would have turned 13 in September, and this was in July. I was going into 7th grade. I was going into 7th grade. Middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
So as the only daughter, I'm assuming you had this close relationship with your mother.
Yes, because I was the only one for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your mom.
She was great, you know. As a little kid, yeah, idolized it. Very forgiving and kind. Made all my clothes. Very, seamstress, gardener, did everything. Hard worker. Always was. I feel like every time I'd go in at night, she was reading her scriptures. Just a very nice and kind person.
Do you remember the accident? Or did you lose consciousness?
No, I remember.
Do you?
I remember it. Yeah, I remember I see the car coming, and I remember before and then waking up, and feeling like, why am I wet? And this is gonna sound dumb, but I was so mad. So I was all crunched up in a ball because I hadn't had my seatbelt on. I had taken off. That's a different story, but I was all kind of crunched up, and it was dark. And according to my dad, I was screaming the whole time or crying, but I don't remember that. And we were there for quite a while before the paramedics could come help, And I can remember them taking things off because everything in the car had kind of. With a camper van, you just have a bench seat, and then you have a stove and a fridge, and those have come disconnected, so they were I was buried. But they were able to unbury me, and then they spread me out, and then they proceeded to cut off my clothes. I was so mad because it was my first store-bought outfit.
Oh, yeah. Because your mom had made all of your
Yeah,
clothes.
I was so ticked.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Those are new.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't get those again. So yeah, I remember all the details, packing us into the stretchers, taking us up, and
You remember the life flight and
some of it. I remember talking to my dad because he was below me. I could reach down and grab his hand. And then I don't remember. The next thing I remember from the helicopter is being in my room with the curtain, and my home teacher was there, actually. And he was just sitting there, and I knew before he said anything that my mom had passed away. Because I never saw her, at the scene of the accident.
what did that mean to have your home teacher there to you?
It was nice to not be alone. He was a good guy. He was actually my seminary teacher through most of high school. And it was comforting because none of my other family could be there. I knew nothing. And it was just nice not to panic in this.
Yeah.
Just like you would see on TV, the room with the curtains and you're by yourself. And I'm sure I was a mess to look at.
Yeah. And then your family, your brothers are in Coeur d'Alene, and you're in Spokane, your dad's in Spokane. So it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Was your dad kind of incapacitated with the accident, or was he mobile? Was he able to be by you at all, or?
No, he had broke his hip and pelvis, so he was also beat up. We were on the same hospital floor. They moved me so I could be on the same floor, though we didn't share the same room. We were on the same floor, and the nurses were the same, so that was nice. Once in a while, they wheel his bed in, but he was always there maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was his recovery faster than yours?
Yeah, I was there by myself for quite a while.
Tell us a little bit just about the physical lingering challenges that you faced because of that accident.
Well, I never ran again. I've tried. It doesn't work very well. I'll be out for weeks. I really tried hard in college, and I just suffer for weeks after. I've got some good scars. I remember when I was in the hospital and they do the plexus surgery, they're like, oh, because this was all cut up over here. I had no eyebrow. It was all gone. And I had this big scar through here. And the plastic surgeon was like, it's going to be really ugly. You're going to want surgery. We're going to have to do skin grafts. It's not going to be something you're happy with. And after
Did you use that word? You used the word ugly?
Yeah. I have this great big scar that goes the whole length of my thigh. So when I'd always cover it if I was going to the beach, because you live by lakes, bright red, and so and people would stare at me when I was a teenager because scars are red and pale skin.
Yeah.
But I didn't have too many problems when I was too young. Besides, I had to do physical therapy for a while. I didn't have full range of motion with my legs. Still don't. It's just the consequence. And then I was pretty good. I could do most things until about 2010. I herniated a disc, and the doctor's like, when he was looking at my X-rays, he's like, I thought you were about 60. Didn't think you were in your 40s. But the brunt of the accidents, because it was head on and I had hit my head, I flew around in the car and injured my spine and neck. And they don't look at those things when you're almost died with something else.
Yeah.
So that's been a hindrance since then.
Yeah.
I struggle with daily pain.
So you've had to manage pain.
Yeah, every day.
So those are just some of the physical side effects of what the accident did. But you even touched on a little bit about having to cover up, you're experiencing social things as a teenager.
Yes.
Maybe some self-consciousness with scars and different impacts. How did the accident, other than the loss, we'll come back to the loss, but just socially, self-image, confidence, how did that impact you?
Well, I was the weird kid now without the mom. And my friends didn't know what to do with that. So up there in Coeur d'Alene, our membership of the church is smaller. So most of my friends weren't members. And it took such a huge location. It wasn't just a neighborhood, it was a few towns that would make up your ward. So my friends didn't live nearby that were church members. So people didn't know what to say. And, they kind of drifted away. I didn't go to school when school started because I couldn't. I did the whole tutor thing, and then I had to go to school in a wheelchair. Did I do the wheelchair? I know I did crutches, but I became the weird girl because I still had the scars, and I had to find a new group of friends. Also, our valley split, so half of the school went to a different middle school, and I went to the other school. Most of my friends went to the other school, so that wasn't helpful either.
So you experienced a lot of loneliness.
Yeah, it was difficult. And then a lot of the friends, I lost a lot of friends because I don't think they knew what to do with them.
So it maybe wasn't that they were trying to be cold as much as they just didn't know how to handle trauma. They didn't know how to handle or even talk to someone who'd been through something so drastic.
Yeah. We made front paper news a couple times.
Yeah.
To the trial of the drunk driver and the accident. But I think people are just like, I don't know what to say, so I won't say anything. I go that way.
Yeah.
So it's hard.
Do you feel like it's impacted you long-term emotionally?
Sure. Yeah, because you feel rejection. And it just, kind of keeps going.
Because you experienced rejection at such a young age, has it caused you to feel difficulty trusting people?
It has for sure. Yeah. I think I finally sorted it out. More on my mission that I was whole through Heavenly Father, But before then, I was always chasing someone to accept me because I didn't necessarily feel that at home.
Yeah.
I didn't feel I never feel like I was quite accepted at home. Either my dad married, and his new wife. I don't think we got along very well, and I didn't feel like I still felt that sense of loss. She's coming in, but I still felt rejection at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so, I was always chasing who's going to accept me for me because I'm broken. I've got these ugly scars. I don't have a mom who's going to, So I think I just felt alone for a really long time. In some ways still do.
Yeah.
Because you can't replace mom.
Yeah.
You
Every time I've talked to people who've lost someone so close like that, they say it's just not something you ever really get over.
No, you'd manage.
Yeah. You just learn how to deal rather than feel totally healed.
Yeah, or fill it with other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've tried to do more.
So, and then we have this aspect of Latter-day Saint culture where, everything's about maintaining the perfect family picture and a mom, a dad, a kids. I see my mother kneeling, right? And then now you're facing a situation with a stepmom and not feeling like that home or that foundation that is so taught and so re-emphasized over and over just kind of ripped from you. And how did that affect your faith prior to the mission?
I hated some Strawberry songs and some church hymns.
Some things are painful.
I wouldn't sing it. Love at home or love one another, or I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I knew God was there. I should have died. Technically, I shouldn't have survived some of the injuries. This one on my neck, they thought for sure my carotid was cut, but it was just centimeters. They were shocked. There was so much blood in the car, and on my new white shirt that had gotten cut off.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I wanted desperately to be with my mom again. So there was no way I was going to not do the church stuff and not be faithful. And I knew I needed to, the way I could give back to God for saving me was to serve a mission. So that's where it kept me straighter than, that's what kept me on the path, I guess. I mean, I wasn't perfect. I definitely fell here and there. But that was my ultimate goal. And so I couldn't give it up. And I couldn't give into I guess I was just like, I just have to do it myself. I mean, I think I forgot what your question was, but I had people that kind of were there that would kind of like, young women's leaders or a family friend, but that was what just kind of kept me like, suicide wasn't an option because I was always told by my dad, well, if you kill yourself, you're going straight to hell. And I'm like, well, that's opposite of what I want. So I have to just push through this anyway, because what's the other option?
So you believed in the promises of eternal family, and that was a motivation to you to be resilient or to push through.
Right.
Do you feel like that was unfair?
Maybe, but it got me where I needed to be. Because I know, like at one point, we moved, when my dad married, we moved, and I started hanging out with this family, and they weren't on that same level, I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun, and my dad no one was really like watching me, so I kind of, participated in some of their language, and wasn't quite as vigilant in my own personal things. And it took me a while to go, oh, that's not really where I want to be. I remember some situations I'm like, oh, that probably wasn't the right thing to do. But no adults said anything to me. No one's like, hey, maybe this isn't for you. No, now it's like I wish someone would have said something. But yeah, I forgot about your question.
No,
it's not your app.
That's great. So in many ways, the accident was a game changer for your support system.
Yeah.
For the typical guidance that a child might receive from both parents.
Yeah, I kind of just got none.
You kind of had to go on your own. You had to go autonomous.
Yeah, no, I knew what my dad expected. Like perfection, get your good grades, go to college. That's kind of his timeline. Do this degree, make this money. Do this. But I knew my eternal goal, I wanted this, and so I just kind of did what was expected, I guess, but I also knew I wanted that mission, and so I applied to BYU because that's what was expected. I didn't apply anywhere else. I didn't try a different degree because that's what was expected. I just kind of,
you're trying to check the boxes that in your head or what would take you
but I don't know
promise.
I don't know if it's something I wanted,
right?
It wasn't like, do I really want to do this besides the mission part?
Yeah.
And then that's where I changed, and my mission president opened my mind to like, you are capable. Because also, he did tell me I was capable and could do these things.
I was going to ask, let's talk about that. What you it seems to me like your mission was really transformative for your faith and your testimony, and kind of changed it from I'm checking boxes to I'm doing this because it's my will. This is what I want.
Yeah, my mission president was huge. My second one, I was an office sister. Say I had very many of those, where you're the right hand for the mission president or the AP. And it was just what I needed. Before, I had a lot of self-doubt. I wasn't always told positive things about myself from others. Pretty mean, I guess. And so I really didn't think I was that great or that smart, or any of those things. And he taught me that you are great, you are smart, and you're capable. And to go out and conquer this, and he's like, you're just as capable as an AP or as my wife or as me. You have the skills, now go use it. And he put me in some situations where it's like, oh, he really does believe that I can do this. And he taught me that essential skill, which totally changed my perspective of who I am.
I feel, you've probably heard me say, I feel so strongly about 1 John 4:19, which is we love him because he first loved us. And so often that's what I hear is when we've been through some trauma, we've been through some pain, it feels like it rearranges the way we view ourselves. And we often default to shame or just not, we lose the ability to love ourselves in many ways. And then when someone shows us authentic love, it like gives us permission to love ourselves again.
Yeah.
And then we know how to love others and we know how to love God because that love is so real. It's love we can't let go. We can't outrun in many ways. Did you find that that's what your mission president was doing for you?
Yeah. No strings attached. Here's who you are. Here's who I see. Now believe it and go work and try it. And yeah, it just changed my total perception of I wasn't stupid. I wasn't dumb as I had been told, or, all these hurtful things I'd been felt by. It was empowering. And it's just, I didn't feel the rejection as much. It's like, oh, I don't have to chase everyone's feelings. I can feel whole for myself.
Yeah.
And yeah.
You were hearing those things said about you. Were you believing them?
Oh, yeah.
Were you?
As a child?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Until I was 21. Totally.
Wow.
That's why I just did what I was expected and told to do, because I couldn't do anything else.
You didn't believe in yourself anyway.
No.
Wow. So your mission was so transformative for you. Kind of set you on this new path. So let's talk about, you come home from your mission. Tell us a little bit about Jason and meeting Jason and what that has done because of what the trauma that you've been through.
Okay. Well, I definitely was looking for something different after my mission compared to the boys I had been after before, But we met, and I met him in the library. I talked to him first. He thought I was 18, didn't want anything to do with me.
You thought you were too young. Okay.
Changed his mind when I told him I was a returned missionary. He was like, oh. What was the question again? I got distracted.
No, you're good. You're good.
Too much in my...
No, it's no problem at all. So meeting Jason and your relationship with Jason, how has that been either helpful or transformative in your recovery?
Got it. Okay. It was good because he's supportive and he listens, and I think you meet a lot of people with strings attached. Do this for me, I'll do this for you. I want you to be a certain way. I want you to dress a certain way and act a certain way and not have your own opinion. And because that's how I felt before, and I've never felt that from him. So it was more what I needed.
How did that change the way you felt about yourself, aside from what you learned in the mission field, but having a husband who sees you that way?
It's good. It's nice to be on equal ground, and be a peer and not look down on, like, you're a wife, this is what's expected, and it's vital. It's made it better, so I don't go back to how I felt or what I've experienced, because I don't want to go back there.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't do the mission and change, I would have married someone and been in a similar situation as I lived in as a teenager. Because that would have been what was normal.
Yeah.
And right.
Yeah.
And that's not what I was really wanting.
No, that's great. So as you look back on this incredible experience that you've been through, what would you say about, obviously it was really painful and really difficult, and it's been a very, very long road. Over time, how do you look back? What kind of resilience do you see in you through it, or strengths that have been developed?
I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, love them even if they're hurting, and it's not about what they can do for me, but how I can help them, And I really tried to listen and be there for people. And I found that really independent. I mean, probably one of my biggest issues is still rejection in a slight way, or being alone.
Yeah.
Like, I can be alone in the house and work, fine. But knowing that there would be no one out there for me would be really sad. And so just knowing just everything I've learned, even though my mom's gone, I don't feel completely alone, and so I feel like knowing God's there gives me that extra confidence that someone's there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because on one side you feel a deep compassion for people that are in pain, and in the same circumstance, it's very difficult to trust people because you've felt rejection and pain and seen some ugliness from people. How do you balance that?
Sometimes I'm a sucker and get snowballed anyway.
Yeah.
Because I really do want to let everyone in and be helpful. And sometimes I go the wrong way and I push people out. I shouldn't, because I'm like, I'm done playing that game. Grow up. Everyone has problems, and I can be a little edge too. Because some people are just, I don't know, my tolerance isn't always great. So I have to pull back in and, keep that in check. But sometimes I don't do very well.
Yeah.
Still fall for the trap of.
Melanie, one thing that I've learned from you in our friendship is that you really do have a deep sense of compassion. And I've sensed that, and I admire that in you. And I think that, and it's an assumption because I'm not you, but I think it comes because of the pain that you've experienced. I think that you can see when someone else is in pain, and your natural reaction is to comfort and to strengthen.
Yeah.
Do you feel that about yourself? Or do you think it just is muscle memory?
Maybe a mix of both. Like, I've suffered. I've been pretty hurt. And I don't want other people to feel that, So I do want to. It's a mix of both. I'm a fixer. If you ask my kids, they're always like, Mom, just listen. We don't need an answer. We don't need to fix it. But I do like helping people. And yeah, I really do want to leave people in a better place than when they came.
Well, you're good at it.
Thanks.
I hope you know that. You really are good at it. How has it impacted you? You kind of went this way, but how has it impacted you as a mother to your 4 girls?
The whole experience?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to be besties with all my girls for sure. Because I have no sisters either. And no close sister-in-laws. And I love my mother-in-law to pieces. She's a couple hours away. And my sister-in-laws are great. We're just not tight. And so I've always wanted that closer relationship with them. And I've had a few bumps and bruises along the way. I've tried too hard.
That's parenting, right? Yeah.
But I feel blessed. I feel like God's like, here, you missed out on all this. Here you go. I feel like it's a huge blessing to have those other females in my life. Because otherwise, I really am back to that alone feeling.
Yeah.
So it's nice to know I have one around. I mean, I can always call one of them.
Yeah.
So I felt like there's the treasure box for all that I've experienced.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. As you think about why we do this podcast, the goal is to smash the stigma by sharing our stories of transformation. What do you feel like is your motivation for being willing to come on this podcast and share your story? What do you hope that will do for people?
I think some people struggle with feeling grief and loss, and then it's kind of the end. Your person's gone, and you just have to keep living. And with the way we believe in the gospel, you know, you still have that chance to be with them again. And so I still feel like even though they're not physically here, you can still build that relationship in your mind, or, oh, I want to share this with them, and that just, I think, helps you feel more at peace. And it's not just over. You have something to look forward to. And that's kind of what I guess I still am looking for that goal of, I still want to be with her again. And to me, that's helps you get there.
That promises to stay with you through the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because what's the alternative?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's kind of black and white. I understand that, but it's the hope.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's the hope.
It's the hope.
And that's all I can really hold on to is, I don't want the alternative. I don't want the darkness and the sadness. And it's there and I feel it, sure. But it's the hope that makes me happy.
Keeps you going.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you, Melanie. Really appreciate your willingness, your vulnerability to share this very difficult thing that you've been through with us. And I've been inspired, so thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Mel.